I'm Pastor Scott Delane with Holy Impact Ministries, and I just wanted to jump in here for just a moment to talk to you a little bit about the direction of the ministry. And again, this particular video is going to be basically for those who are part of HIM, that is Holy Impact Ministries. And I just wanted to talk to you a couple of minutes. Of course, we usually have our Bible study Wednesday evening at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, but we have postponed that because I am once again working on some things behind the scenes to help make things better for the ministry and to catch up on some loose ends and some things that needed to be done this week. And so, with all of that being said, I just wanted to step in for a couple of minutes here this Wednesday, and I wanted to talk a little bit about what is going on and exactly what we're doing here at the ministry. I believe that we have turned a page, if you will. We have entered a new stage, if you will. You know, the Bible's full of page turning and new stages, if you will. If you take a look at the Bible, when we read it from the book of Genesis, the first thing we see is the creation. We see man created. What's the next thing we see? The next stage is that man falls. And what's the next stage? Well, the next stage is because man's heart becomes so evil that God's heart is grieved that he even created man. And so he brings the flood and he has Noah restart things all over again because his generations were pure. And then what do we have? Well, we have the Abrahamic covenant, and we have all of that, and we have the birth of Israel through Isaac, and then we have the house of Israel going into bondage under Egypt. Then we have the rescue of the house of Israel out of Egypt. So there are all these different stages, and they just keep continuing going on. And with each one of these stages, we learn something new. We have been given more information that helps us to understand the character of our Father in heaven and what he is all about and what's important to him and how he expects his children to behave. And so it is the same thing with nations. Even each one of us individually goes through stages. When we were born, we first have to learn how to walk before we can learn how to run. And it's the same thing with nations. Nations are the same way. Each nation goes through different stages. And the United States is no exception to that. And so I think that what is going on here right now is that we're turning another page. We are indeed living in the last days. There's no question about that. The birth pangs are ramping up to go on to the next stage. And our Messiah told us in the 24th chapter of the book of Matthew that the first stage would be that we would see wars and rumors of wars. And he said that the love of people would grow cold because lawlessness would be increased. He said there will be plagues and famines and all these different things. He said, but these things will be like the labor pains of a woman. They would start out gradually, and then they would intensify. And that's exactly what we're seeing today. That's exactly what we're seeing today. Yes, we've always had wars. Yes, there's always been sickness and illness. And yes, we've had many different plagues. But we've had these for different reasons. And it's important that we realize what those reasons are and how it is that our Father in heaven handles nations who have become disobedient. And again, his assembly, his church, his temple, what happens to that when abominations are drug into the temple? Again, it's happened twice already. Abominations were drug into the temple, and that led to desolation. Where you have abomination, you have desolation. What's going on in the church today? Exact same thing. We've got Christ Mass and the divination of flying reindeer and Krampus elves and a make-believe immortal toy god that comes out of the north to come down out of the fireplace to give our children all the desires of their hearts, as long as they take their gifts from bowing down before the pagan evergreen tree and to receive their gifts. And Easter Sunday morning and Good Friday. Let me ask you something, my friends. Does your anniversary always fall on a Friday every year? Does the first day of summer fall on a Friday every year? Does anything kept annually fall on the same day of the week every year? The answer to that question, to the educated person, would be no, absolutely not. So how then is it that we could be fooled into thinking that the anniversary of the death of our Messiah would fall on a Friday each and every year? That just goes to show how inept the apostate church is today. A first day of the week Sunday Sabbath, commanded by no one at any time throughout any one of the 66 books of our Bibles. And yet, we believe it. Why is that? Again, my friends, these are abominations. And when you drag abominations into the church, you can expect that there is going to be desolation. And a lot of people right now today are calling for a revival. Oh, we need a revival. We need to get back to doing our pagan garbage. Well, let me ask you this. Haven't there been revivals before? And why didn't they work? Again, my friends, a little common sense goes a long way. It's not a revival that we need. It's a reformation that we need. And that reformation is coming. But it won't come until our Messiah comes, because he's bringing with him a reformation. And this is exactly why it is written that he will rule the nations with a rod of iron. Again, my friends, this is the only way to bring peace back to the earth. It must be someone with that kind of power, that kind of authority, that he can smash these nations like clay pottery. That's what we need, and that's what's coming. But until we get there, we've got these stages that we are going to that are leading up to that return and our Messiah finally ruling and reigning. And those of us who follow him will be ruling and reigning with him for 1,000 years here upon this earth, before our Father in heaven brings down a new heaven and a new earth and a new Jerusalem, and makes all things new again. This has always been the plan of our Father in heaven. And this has always been the layout of the end time scenario, spoken of by the prophets and by our Messiah, by the apostles, and by our Father in heaven. And so as we go through these stages, we see different things happening. And as we look through the book of Revelation and Daniel and Ezekiel and Jeremiah and Joel and so many of the other prophetical books, we see these things coming to pass today in our time. Matthew chapter 24 is so valuable because it is a synopsis, if you will, a shortening of the story that our Messiah gives us as to what the end of days is going to be like. And he tells us in the 24th chapter of the book of Matthew that it will be like the days of Lot. It'll be like the days of Noah. Right? Where they will be eating and drinking and marrying and giving in marriage and doing all of these things until the ark was shut up and the rain started coming and they were all swept away. And that's exactly the way it's going to be at the end of the age. And so we need to think about, well, what was it like during the days of Noah? Well, it was so bad that God said it grieved his heart that he even created man, because the intent of man's heart was evil continuously. That's how bad it's going to get. Our Messiah explains it by saying that a time so terrible is coming that it has never come before and it will never come again. That's how bad it's going to be. And we've had some pretty nasty history. When you take a look at the Dark Ages, you take a look at Nero, you take a look at people being impaled while they're still alive and wrapped in wax and lit on fire like Roman candles. I don't think you can really imagine a time worse than that. You look at the Holocaust and what was done there. There has been much evil upon the earth today that we've seen. Terrible times, horrible, horrific times. But a time is coming worse than that, he says. And again, we see that today. We see the oppression, even here in the United States. And there are many people that will argue that the United States has not been a Christian nation, never was a Christian nation. Again, those are people who don't do their homework, don't know their history, have no clue. They sit and they listen to people that they adore, tell them things that are just simply not true. This nation, the United States of America, was indeed, at its inception, a Christian nation. In fact, our Congress and our legislation is all built around Judean Christian principles. And that's very clear when you take a look at the Bible, when you read the Bible from the book of Genesis, not from the book of Matthew, but from the book of Genesis, and you read it from the book of Genesis to the book of Revelation, you can understand and you can see how and why it is that the United States has the judicial system that it has. Again, much of it built upon Judean Christian values. And so, as we have said so many times, when you look at downtown Washington and you see all of this disgusting, mythical these Greek buildings and this obelisk for the Washington Monument, this pagan obelisk and this pagan statue, Liberty in New York. We see these graven images and these things that are just all around us. We understand that this nation was immediately attacked because it was a Christian nation. Do we think that the devil was not going to immediately attack? Of course he's going to immediately attack. The Roman Catholic Church immediately flooded the United States with its army of Jesuits. Abraham Lincoln writes extensively about the Jesuits, being more afraid of the Jesuits than he was the South. And so we see this battle going on within the United States, evil versus good. And it's always been that way. It's been that way throughout every nation. You know, we have a lot of brothers and sisters up in Canada. And, they look at us and what's going on down here in the United States. And they see the exact same thing that's going on in Canada, of all places. Things that you would never think would happen and go on in Canada have been going on. Just take a look at the truck drivers that stood up against this witch's brew that they were trying to dump into our veins. And people who stood up against that, just look what they did to them financially. Look at how they treated them and got in the news media, smeared those hardworking men and women who drive trucks and keep the country afloat and keep the country moving. And the same thing happened here in the United States. So it's not just the United States. We see the same thing happening in Germany. We see the same thing happening in Australia and over in Europe. We see it the same thing. It is again our adversary, who is a brilliant and most worthy adversary, doing all that he can to once again ramp things up because he knows his time is short. And that's written in the Bible. When he knows that his time is short, he's going to get more angry and he's going to come at us with more steam, if you will. And we see that happening right now with the United States and the same things that are going on right now. And the absolute true racism that is going on from the thresholds of those who sit in higher places, like the World Economic Forum. And people coming out now and saying that we are our own gods and that we are going to, once again, be able to live forever. And we won't have to worry about some supernatural God because it's all going to be done through technology. And man's going to be so smart and AI is going to figure it all out for us. And my friends, everything that the Bible said was going to take place is taking place. And the Antichrist, you can hear his voice already saying things that the Bible already told us that he was going to say, including this raising of taxes and this army of IRS agents that is being hired by the United States. 87,000 new IRS agents who must be able to legally carry a firearm. Again, my friends, this is no joke that is coming upon us. We've seen this for a long time. We saw what the IRS did back in the days of Obama, when they actually massacred the Tea Party. We had people that were standing up for their rights and their God-given inalienable rights that the Constitution stands for. And what happened? Well, they sent an army of IRS agents after them, and they all sat down and shut up. They called them names, and they beat them in the streets and punched them in the face and beat them about the head, and all these riots and violence. And the Tea Party, those who were for the Tea Party, those who were really trying to make America great again, sat down. And you didn't hear another word from them. And they know that from history that worked. So what are they doing now? Well, now they're hiring 87,000 gun-toting IRS agents to come after those people who they deem as Christian nationalists. My friends, we've turned a page. We've turned a page. We're in a new stage. And because we have turned a page and we are in this new stage, this new era, this end time era that we are coming up into, we're getting past the birth pains and going into Jacob's trouble. The ministry also needs to change. And so there is a lot going on in my mind and in my heart. And I know and I understand that we cannot preach everything that we need to preach on certain platforms like YouTube. YouTube has been a blessing to us. It has helped us to reach many, many people. And it has helped us to get the word out. And we're very appreciative of YouTube and what they have allowed us to do. However, there are some truths in the Bible that you simply cannot speak on YouTube. And there are some things that are going on politically right now that need to be addressed by the assembly of Jehovah God. And we can't talk about those things on that particular platform. Now, we sensed this a couple of years ago, and this is why we had to get on Vimeo, and we were scared to death that they were going to shut us down a few years ago. In fact, just a couple of years ago. And we went to Vimeo, and we had everything there, and we kept on YouTube, and YouTube left us alone. And we still have a perfect rating on YouTube. We have no strikes against us, and we don't want any strikes against us. We're not trying to purposely make anyone angry with us. But yet at the same time, we need to speak the truth. And, you know, it is hypocritical for us to talk about the apathetic church, right? The apathetic, slothful, apostate church, right? And how they don't speak up if we're not going to speak up ourselves. And so these things like abortion, like homosexuality, need to be spoken about, like tyranny, like freedom of speech, the right to be able to defend oneself and one's family. Romans 13, if you will. All of that needs to be discussed. And we need to be very, very careful. And the same thing with this witch's brew that they want to fill your veins with. Again, we see how that worked out and what that was all about, and how much nonsense that whole thing absolutely was. But again, I think that this is all a testing, you see. This plandemic, and I'll probably not even allowed to say that word without getting this video booted off, but that's exactly what it was, and we all know that. It was a man-made, created pandemic, and there was a man-made fix to that was supposed to lead to these visas and more control over the herd that, thank Yehovah, didn't quite come to pass, didn't quite work out for them the way that they thought it was going to work out for them. And we thank Yehovah for that. But Again, that does not stop them. Again, there is, as Paul tells us in the 6th chapter of the book of Ephesians, we are in a spiritual warfare. A spiritual warfare between good and evil. And it is important that we choose which side of that fence that we are going to stand on. You know, our Father in heaven tells us, you know, if we are lukewarm, he will spew us out of his mouth. So you can't be kind of good and kind of worldly. That doesn't work. That just simply doesn't work, my friends. You're either all in or you're all out. And the gray area that used to be there is now being depleted. That gray area is getting smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller. And now they are forcing you to choose which side of the line you're going to stand on. Are you going to stand on the side of righteousness, as Jehovah God says righteousness is, and as he defines it? Or are you going to stand on the side of righteousness that man says is righteousness? You know, there's two different righteousness that you can look at, my friends. There is God's righteousness. There is man's righteousness. God's righteousness is a far cry from what man's righteousness is. And that's something that we need to know and to understand, and not only know and understand, but we need to preach and teach so that the rest of the world understands these things. And so as we move on and as the ministry moves on, we are going to have to really think about what platforms that we are going to be on, and I will be in some deep study with our elders concerning these things. You know, which platform should we be on? The reason that Pastor Jackie and Sister Two Feathers do not have their program on Monday evening on YouTube is because of their Prophecy Watchers report. They got struck on YouTube for saying things that YouTube didn't like them to say. And so they had to immediately move. Rather than wait for YouTube to boot them off, they just went ahead and moved to Rumble. And now they are based on Rumble, and that's the platform that they actually teach on. Because there they can say what they need to say and show what they need to show. And I just want to say, once again, my hat is off to my beloved brother, Pastor Jackie and Sister Two Feathers, who are willing to do this homework and to show these things, that we may see them and that we may contemplate them and we may be in prayer over them. This is a very noble cause and a very noble thing that they are doing. And this is the same thing that the rest of the ministry has to do as well. And this is with our Truth of Prophecy program. The next couple of Truth of Prophecy programs that are coming up have to do with an adult content that I am not sure is going to be allowed on YouTube. But we must speak about these things. And so we need to make some decisions here as a ministry together. And when I say a ministry, I'm not just talking about myself and the elders, or just Pastor Jackie and Sister Two Feathers and me, or I'm talking about us, all of us together. We need to start talking about these things in our fellowship when we come together for fellowship on Saturday afternoons. We need to start talking about these things, and we need to start asking one another. I want you to start thinking about, what platform do you think is strong enough to weather the coming storm? And what do I mean by that? Well, here's what I mean by that. There was a video platform called Parler. And I don't know if many of you know what Parler is or was, but we were on there and we were doing very well on Parler. We were very glad to be on there. It was a free speech platform, and you could speak your mind and your opinion without getting egged or fined or booted off. But they had been using all of these servers of the liberal left. And so when things went south, the liberal left just turned all their servers off and they lost everybody. and because they didn't have their own servers to weather the storm. You see what I mean? So if we take all of our content at Holy Impact Ministries and we put it on another server, we need to check these servers out to find out who owns them, what kind of money do they have? Do they have enough money to weather the long haul? What servers are they using? Will all of our content just come up missing like it did on Parler, and some of these other free speech platforms? Because they're gunning for these free speech platforms. They're gunning for Brighteon. They're gunning for Rumble. They're gunning for even Odyssey and some of these free speech platforms that allow you to speak your mind. And it's very important that we have freedom of speech. Jehovah God gives us freedom of speech to say what we want to say, to have those conversations. How do you know who your enemy is if you don't let him speak? How do you know who is with you and who's against you if you don't have that conversation? Again, we must have freedom of speech. We can disagree without hating one another. It can be done. It used to be done all the time. But now, boy, if you disagree, you just are the arch enemy, and now the fisticuffs go up, the walls are built, the tanks are brought in. It's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. But once again, I just wanted to get you thinking about these things, because this ministry has been given to us from Jehovah, our Father in heaven. And we want to take good care of it, and we want to make good decisions. So we need to be in prayer concerning these things, and we need to be asking him, what do we do? Do we start burning CDs and DVDs? Is that what we do? And how's that going to be funded when people are making less money and the IRS is attacking people and taking their livelihood away and even putting many of us in jail? Where's that funding going to come from? How are we going to handle that? Are we going to have an army of our congregants that are out there burning CDs and putting labels on and handing them out? That may come to pass, where you have to learn how to burn a video to a DVD and how to print out a sticker to put on there, right? A label, and to put it in a jacket and to hand it out. You might have to pay for Holy Impact Ministries business cards so that you can hand them out to get people to come to the teachings. You might have to do those things. It might come down to that. I mean, we don't want to put that burden on everybody to do that if we don't have to, but it's looking more and more like we really do need to start thinking about how to get this word out faster, because the window of opportunity is beginning to close. And we said that for the last couple of years. We knew that it was coming. We knew that it was coming, and that freedom of speech was going to be taken away, and that we would all be under attack. And, the first place I believe that these IRS agents are going to hit, these armed IRS agents are going to hit, are probably going to be the owners of these free speech outlets that allow people to speak freely. Because you see, it's all about control. And that's what the beast is going to do. It's written in the book of Daniel that we, the saints, are going to be under the dominion of the beast for a time, times and a half of time. And that's coming, and you can see where that's coming. It doesn't say in the Bible that America is going to be great again. Might it be great again? It might for a period of time. Could possibly be. But in the end, progressively, things are going to get worse and worse and worse and worse until it gets so bad that if our Messiah did not return, there'd be no flesh left alive on earth. That's how bad it's going to get, according to the Bible. It's just like, again, global warming. We've talked about this over and over and over again. Our Father in heaven tells us in the 16th chapter of the book of Revelation that he is going to use the sun to scorch the earth, and that men would curse him for doing so because of their wickedness. But what does man say? We can fix it. We just need to tax these farmers and these ranchers because their cows are farting out in the field. That's all. We just need to rake some more money in out of their pockets. We're going to fix it. We're going to stop God from doing what he said he was going to do. How do you think that's going to work out? I know how that's going to work out. You ought to know as well. It's nonsense, just like the rest of the things that they do. Just nonsense. They make it up as they go along. It's all about money, and it's all about thievery for them. And again, my friends, these are things that are going on right in front of us. We can see how our brilliant adversary is already bringing that beast power to fruition. And again, it's not just the United States. We see it happening north of us. We see it happening south of us, east of us, west of us. It is happening in all nations. And again, my friends, wars and rumors of wars. Now we are sending our fleet, our battleships into the Taiwan Straits now. Many people saying we're going to be at war with China in a matter of a couple of weeks. Is that going to happen? Wars, rumors of wars are going to intensify. And so the ministry does have to change. I say all of that to say this, my friends. The ministry is going to have to, again, speak up louder and to speak out. And when we do that, we can expect there is going to be opposition. We can expect that we are going to be under attack. We can expect that we are going to be told to sit down and to shut up. Just like the apostles were told. When they went preaching in the name of Yeshua, what did they do? They beat them and they jailed them and they told them not to speak in that name anymore. What happened when they let them out? They went right back out in the streets and they preached it again. And they said, didn't we tell you not to do that? And what did they say? Well, we must listen to God, not man. That is the true context of Romans 13. It's all about listening to Yahovah God and not man. We are to obey the laws of man as long as they do not supersede the law of our Father in heaven. He is the one that we are obedient to. Our King is Yeshua HaMashiach, Jesus in the Greek. And so, once again, my friends, it's very important that we as Christians speak about these things and open that Bible up and show people where these scriptures are at and how to decipher these things, and let Yahovah speak through his word so that we may know what the truth is and we may judge righteously for ourselves how it is that we love God. 1 John 5:3. What is the biblical definition of the love of God? That we keep his commandments, not only keep his commandments, but that his commandments are not burdensome to us. And so, again, all of this has to be brought to light. And all of this cannot be taught on certain platforms. And so, therefore, we have a lot of decisions to make as a ministry. And we're going to be doing those. And so I would like you to please think about these things so that when you come to fellowship, we can talk about those things. Pray about these things. And then when you come to fellowship, we'll talk about what has God told us about these things. How should we navigate these things? Because he will help us to navigate. But I do not believe that he's going to do it all through one man or one woman. I think he is going to demand us, as he has already demanded us, not to forsake the gathering together of ourselves, because he wants us to do this corporately. He wants us to navigate. He wants us to move corporately as one. Remember, our Messiah prayed that our Father in heaven would make us all one with him. Just as he is one with his Father, we would all be one with him. We would all be one. And so therefore, we need to act as one. And so it's very important that we come together, we pray, and when we come together for fellowship on the seventh-day Sabbath, that we talk about these things. You know, what platform should we go? How should we navigate? Where should we put our money? Where should we put our teachings? What should we do? How should we do it? Who's going to do what? Who's going to volunteer? Should we start sending out boxes of business cards to everybody? Sister Julian had a great idea. Sent me some business cards, very nice business cards. In fact, I think I have those right here. In fact, yeah, they're right here, and have about a half a box full here. And it's just a business card. And it's got the Holy Impact Ministries logo on there, if you can see that. I hope you can see that, right? And it has a little scripture there on the back side of it. Just a nice card, easy to hand out. And I keep these in my wallet all the time. And if I run into somebody at the grocery market or somewhere, I'll hand them one. I'll say, yeah, hey, have you ever seen our ministry? You know, a lot of people, if somebody sees the ZEET seats, you know, the blue cords hanging down, they say, well, are you Jewish? I can pull them out a card and say, well, here, take a look at this ministry, and this will explain it a little bit better for you. You know, your Messiah is Jewish, right? You know, we are all one with him. You do know that, right? You know, and it starts the conversation. This is what we need to do, my friends. Again, if we lose our saltiness and we are no longer the light of the world, then what good are we? What good are we? And it's time right now to ramp these things up. It's time right now to have these kind of props, these kinds of things that you can use to help people know and to understand who you are and what you're about and what you stand for and why that is. And it is important, you know, in the midst of all of this, we need to keep on going with our Bible studies. You know, we're going through the Old Testament on Wednesday evening. We're going through the New Testament on Saturdays. We need to keep that up as well, because it is those scriptures that will help us to navigate, and we will see things within those scriptures. He'll speak loudly to us through those scriptures, and they will help us to navigate through these things and help us to make good, godly decisions as to which way to turn and what to do. You know, I don't like the business end of the ministry, but there is a business end. And like any other business, it has to be treated properly. And so it's important for us to do that. You know, we're talking about the Word of God here that we've been given, and we don't want to mishandle that. And so once again, please think about these things. I just wanted to bring these things to your attention, to let you know that we have again turned a corner. We are in a new stage, and we are ramping up to go into a stage that's going to be unlike any other stage that man has ever seen throughout his history. And it is going to be likened unto the days of Noah, when the hearts of men was nothing but continuously evil. That's coming. And we need to be prepared for it. And we need to be doing all that we can to expand his soon coming kingdom while we have the opportunity and while that window of free speech is still open. And so that's a little bit about what this week is about, and that's a little bit about what I'm doing and trying to get ready. We had a donation from a gentleman up in Canada who allowed us to purchase some more lighting for the studio. We really needed that so badly. And so we've got those things that we need for the studio, some things that we didn't have. So that's going to be a lot easier for us. Once we get it set the way we want to get it set, we're still trying to get it set the way we need to get it set so that we can just step in there and do the teachings and not have to worry about, well, this has to go there, that has to go there, this has to be set at this degree, that degree, this light has to be this high, that one has to be. All that needs to be set up so that we can just walk in the studio and do the teaching and not worry about all this foolishness that has to go along with making the video. And so that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to get the studio set to where it's set. And we can walk in, do the teaching and the study and get it done and get it out because we want to do more of them. And we can't do more of them if we have to keep faddling around with making shift with, an incandescent light bulb when you really need a fluorescent bulb. And it is, or you don't have the right equipment that you need to do these things. It's very time consuming. And, we're using duct tape on things and what have you, to make things work. And it is it's time consuming to do that. And it makes by the time you actually get to start the lesson, you almost forgot about what the lesson was about or what the study was about, because you're full of sweat because you're playing around in the studio trying to make things set the way they need to be before you can even get started. So that's a lot of what we're doing now, is we're trying to get this thing set up so that we can actually get it done, and it looks the same every time, and it doesn't look different each and every time, and the vocal's right, and the voice is there, and the sound is not to where people have to go like this to hear it. We want to make sure that it is done as professionally as we can, and that it's set so that we can walk right in there and get this study done and then continue on. That takes time, my friends. I'll have to make a video about this studio, and I'll have to show it to you. Maybe I'll do that for our Patreons, and I'll put it over there on Patreon and let you see some of the behind the scenes things, so that you know and understand what all has to be set in order to be able to do one study. It is more monumental than you might think. And so we will probably do that once we get everything all set up. We'll do that. But I want to say thank you to everybody out there. I know this was not a Bible study again, but in just a couple of minutes, I just wanted to take this evening so that you would have this for Wednesday evening to view and to know and to understand what's going through our minds, and what it is that we may be called to do, what we may have to do as a congregation, as an assembly, in order to get the word out and to help the ministry grow and to stay afloat. So a lot of conversations about what to do and how to get things to be a little bit better, and how we can all be maybe a little bit more involved. And it's going to take all of us being involved, whether it's just simply prayer, whether it's monetarily, whether it is actually getting your hands dirty, burning videos, making business cards, whatever the case might be, handing out bumper stickers, whatever the case might be. We need to get after it. And just sitting in front of a video isn't getting the job done. We need to be hands-on with a lot of these things. And so that's what we're going to be talking about over the next few weeks and months as we close out this year. So with that being said, I won't hold you up any longer. I just want to say this much. I want to say thank you to all of our Patreons that keep us going every month. Thank you to those who are contributing and sending in your offering. Thank you to those who are praying for the ministry. We know that not everybody can send an offering in, but we do know that everybody can pray, and Yahovah God will touch the hearts of those who can give. But it takes all of us praying, again, corporately, together as one, in order to get all of these things done. So we thank you for your prayers. We thank you for doing that. I thank you for your encouraging words and many of the thank you cards that have been coming in. I tell you, my friends, they mean so very much. It is an intensive work that we do. And sometimes, even as a pastor myself, I just need to sit down and I need to look at those cards sometimes. And when I look at those cards and when I hear those encouraging words, and I feel the love and the compassion of those who we serve, it reminds me of the importance of what it is that we're doing. And once again, it energizes me and puts me right back up where I need to be. I want to thank you for that. I want to thank you so very, very much for that. It means so very, very, very much. But with that being said, I just want to say to everybody, God bless you. Thank you once again for your support. Thank you for standing with us. And keep these things in mind so that when we come together during fellowship time, we can have these conversations, talk about these things, and be in prayer so that we can each one of us can hear what Yahovah God is speaking to the other. This is going to be very, very important in these last days. I do not believe that Yahovah God is going to lead through one person like he did Moses or like he did our Messiah. Moses was the one mediator between God and man. We were only given one other mediator, and that's Yeshua. He is now the one mediator between God and man. And so, therefore, all of us together need to be one, and we all need to talk to one another. We all need to be praying, and we all need to be listening to one another about what Yahovah God says to his children, to his assembly. That's how we're going to be able to navigate through this until our Messiah returns. Then we'll once again have that one mediator between God and man back with us again, and things will be much better at that point in time. But until then, it's up to us, my friends. It's up to us. We need to stick together. We need to band together. We need our Father in heaven to bind us together with unbreakable chains. And my hope and my prayer is that he will do just that. With that being said, everybody, I just want to say once again, thank you. I will see you this next coming Saturday at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And we will once again move into our study concerning the book of Matthew. And again, we'll be back next Wednesday with our study, and we will continue into the book of Deuteronomy. And in between there, we will still be working on the Truth of Prophecy programs that we have coming up. And we'll let you know where we're going to post those at through the email. So again, you want to make sure that you go to the holyimpactministries.com. My friends, if you don't have that website bookmarked, please bookmark it, because if we disappear from these platforms and you don't have the website bookmarked, you're not going to know how to find us, and we're not going to know how to find each other. So please go to the Holy Impact Ministries website, bookmark it so that you have it, and sign up for the mailing list. Again, we're not going to sell you a bunch of garbage there. We're just going to give you what you need to let you know what's going on within the ministry. That's what we use that for. And so you don't have to worry about your email box being filled full of a bunch of garbage trying to get you to buy a plastic Torah scroll. That's not going to happen. We don't do that. But there is information that we're going to be needing to use that mailing list much more than we have been in the past. So please sign up for that because we are gearing up for that. We need to stay in touch with one another. Very, 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 very important. And we'll talk about some more things. I've gotten a couple of emails that I also want to talk about that have to do with why we do not allow comments under our videos and some things like that. I want to talk to you about those as well. So I'll try to have another one of these little talks set up, and we'll talk about some of these other things and these questions that we're getting in through the email as well. But for now, everybody, God bless you. Have a wonderful week, and may the face of Yahovah God shine upon you and be with you, and may his countenance always be with us all as he binds us together with unbreakable chains. Shalom, everyone.